Hey guys, Sharpend here. In this video I'm going to show you how to create future garage drum patterns that sound something like that. So, in order to create this type of drum patterns, I'm going to be using a set of specific drum sounds. I'm going to be using a kick drum, a rimshot sample as our main drum sound, and I'm going to be using 3 hi-hat samples, a closed hi-hat sample, an open hi-hat sample that has longer decay, and another open hi-hat sample that has been put through a flanger or a phaser. Now first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in a basic pattern with our kick and rimshot sounds. Like that. Now I'm going to draw our hi-hat pattern. So first thing you want to do is to make sure that your grid view is set on 1/6 of a beat. Now there are 3 important places that you can put your hi-hats in a future garage type rhythm. The first one being in the middle of each beat, the second one being 1/6 before the middle of the beat, and the third one being 1/6 before the end of the beat. So what we're going to do is we're going to place our open hi-hat sample in the middle of each beat, like that. Now we're going to be using mostly our closed hi-hat sample before the middle of the beat and before the end of the beat, and we're going to be using our flanged hi-hat sample to add a little bit of variation every once in a while. So it should sound something like that. Now I'm going to copy it and add a little bit of variation to it. Like that. And that is how you create the basic drum pattern. You can try and experiment by adding more hi-hat samples to increase the variation in your drum loops, and you can try different rhythms, you can delete some hi-hats, add some more, everything works. Now I'm going to show you a few ways to make it sound a bit more interesting and professional. So the first thing you can do is to add a shaker loop to it. You can add pretty much any shaker loop, most of them will work just fine. So I'm going to add this one. I'm going to route it to a mixer track with our drums so that I can mix it together. Like that. So as you can hear, it already adds a lot of depth to our drum pattern and makes it way more interesting. Another thing that you can do is to add Foley samples. I'm going to be using this Foley sample to act as a pre-clap to my snare sound. So I'm going to offset it a bit before each snare hit, like that, so that it should sound like this. Another thing that you can do is to take another Foley sample that sounds a bit like your snare sound, like this one, and you can put it 1/6 before your 4th snare. But what you need to do is to also offset it a bit, so that it's not exactly on the 6th, but a bit afterwards. That way it gives you a little bit of extra variation to your drum loop. It should sound like that. Now that we have our basic drum loop with our Foley pre-claps and our shaker loop, I'm going to show you how to make it sound a bit more lo-fi, like drums in Future Garage and Chillout productions usually sound like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to route my Foley samples, my shaker loop, and my hi-hat sounds all to one mixer track. I'm going to lower the volume of the shaker a bit. And I'm going to route the hi-hats as well, like that. And now I'm going to add an ambience sample. I'm going to be using some rain on glass window. sounds like this. I'm going to increase its volume by a bit. And I'm going to route it to a new mixer track. Like that. Now I'm going to route both of those channels to a new mixer track where I'm going to add a vocoder. I'm going to set the modulator to my ambient sample, and I'm going to set the carrier to my hi-hat pattern, the Foley sounds, and the shaker loop. Right now it sounds like this. I'm going to increase its volume so you can hear it a bit better. Like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the bandwidth to reintroduce some high frequencies that we lost in this process. Like that. I'm going to change the order to 3. And I'm going to play with those knobs to change the timbre of the sound to make it a bit more lo-fi. Now I'm going to increase the high mids a bit. And also the high frequencies, like that. And I'm going to add a flanger. I'm going to be adding it in order to make it sound a bit wider. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the delay to around 60% up. And I'm going to make sure that the spread is set all the way up and that the speed isn't too fast. And that the depth isn't too high, so it sounds like that. I'm going to reduce the depth and the wet by a bit. I'm going to reduce the delay by a tiny bit, so that way we get a bit of a wider sound and a more lo-fi sound. I'm going to increase its volume and I'm going to show you how it sounds like together with our kick drum. And yeah, that is pretty much how you make it. I'll put a download link to the ambient sample used in this video in the description below, so you can replicate this vocoder effect from scratch. If you found this tutorial helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments what subject you want me to cover up next time.